Good day to you out there, and this is your regular program, Business and Economy, designed to improve your horizon on the free fall of the Nigerian currency, the Naira. As usual, I am Ile Emeje, your host. Economic analysts say the pride of any nation is in the value of its currency. In other words, the value of a country's currency is a true reflection of its economic performance and the pride of the nation. Nevertheless, in 1985, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund Group, IMF, advised Nigeria into believing that the Naira was overvalued vis-a-vis other foreign currencies. According to them, the Naira should be floated into finding its true value. This signifies the gradual devaluation of our national currency that culminated into what it is today. Several years later, after experimenting this so-called economic policy, Nigeria is yet to realize that this advice is yet to yield the expected result. However, in 2023, similar advice was also mooted to refloat the Naira, which has led to what we now call the free fall of the Naira. As a result, the Nigerian national currency, the Naira, is today seen as one among the list of weakest currency in the world. Now, the question in the minds of Nigerians is, if devaluing the national currency is a good economic policy, why is the United States of America, USA, the United Kingdom, and Germany not devaluing their national currency? If devaluing the Naira is a good policy, why are the politicians and other wealthy men stocking their wealth in dollars and pound sterling and not in Naira? If the devaluation of the Naira is a good economic policy, why is the Naira not used for cross-border trade as the dollar and pound sterling are being used today? In this edition of the program, my guest is a banker, politician, and an economic analyst, Mr. Victor Adoji, who will be joining us immediately after the business news to discuss all the issues surrounding the free fall of the Naira. We'll be back shortly. Equity sector of the Nigerian capital market transacted in a total volume of 861 million stocks at the last session, worth 22.49 billion naira across 12,851 deals. GT Holding Company, Gems, and Cavitin were top on the gainers table with a price appreciation of 10% each. However, Deep Capital led the laggards, declining with 9.88%, followed by CWG and RT Briscoe PLC, dipping with 9.87% and 9.86%. In the course of business, the top traded stocks include Universal Insurance, Zenith Bank, and United Bank for Africa, contributing in 113 million stocks, 91 million stocks, and 74 million stocks in that order. The All-Share Index and market capitalization improved by 1.63% to close at 102,818 units and 56.26 trillion naira. And on the exchange rate, the Naira sells on the Forex market for 1,455 naira to the dollar, 1,144 naira to the pound sterling, and 969 naira to the euro. Ile Emeje, ASO Television News. In case you just tune in, you are on to Business and Economy, and our guest, an economist, Dr. Victor Adoji, is already here in our studio to take a look at the topic, reversing the free fall of the Naira. Doctor, you are welcome to the program.
Welcome. Good morning, my sister.
Thank you, and Happy New Year. We've not seen this year. Well, Happy New Year to you.
Well, let's just say New Year. Is there any happy before the New Year?
I think, yes, there was happy and there is still happy and there will be happy.
Amen. Amen.
Let's be positive anyway. All right. It is no longer news that the Naira is experiencing a corrosive devaluation in recent time. What do you think is responsible for this?
Well, It's a potpourri of factors. Some of them traditional, some historical. If you cast your mind back to 1980 before SAP, the naira stood at 80 kobo to $1.
Yeah.
You know, and in 42 years, we now have massive, erosion of the value of the naira. You can say it is 1.4, another person say 1.5, another person 1.7, and we're all correct. You know, because it depends on
where you are coming from,
where and time which you are buying it. Now, what is responsible? You can put under a number of subheads. Number one, leadership ineptitude. You know, and then secondly, the sociological and psychological, malfeasance, of those who use the economic agents. I think the second factor I will explain, a bit better. If you see that the mindset, if you watch on the close, you see that the mindset of a typical Nigerian is to value the next Nigerian based on his level of foreign consumption of goods. So if I wear like what I'm wearing now, chances are that somebody will value somebody who wears a Gucci more than I'm valued. You wear a YSL, a shoe more than the shoe that is made in Aba. So when people have a psychological, sociological impact on the economy, you now discover that your appetite is actually for foreign consumption and not local consumption. That has to do with generality of the public, And once you buy things locally, you use the naira. But if you buy foreign, what you use the dollar. And when you now begin to rate, and everybody, if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, from the security, sociological, all the way to self-esteem and actualization, people want to grow up the ladder. And if growing up the ladder, means a consumption of foreign goods, then people will now have to sidestep local consumption for foreign consumption, which is the problem of the generality of what of the people. And as such, the demand for foreign goods increases the demand for the dollar against the naira. And when you have this interplay between demand and supply, you now discover that naira will depreciate in favor of the dollar.
You're talking about our mindset.
Yes.
And the generality of the people of Nigeria.
Yes.
All right, from your response, why did government float the naira in the first place, and what is the supposed economic sense for floating the naira?
Honestly, I am yet to see the economic blueprint of this government. Apart from telling us they had a renewed hope, and then the first day of the inauguration, there was a removal of the oil subsidy, and then the floating. I am yet to see the entire gamut of the blueprint, the plan. So we are just being served piecemeal. Now, for you, floating of naira simply means allowing the international, the forces in the international market to determine the value of the naira. And there are some certain underbellies to all of this. Your position in terms of BOP, your position in terms of BOT, balance of trade and balance of payment. So what is Nigeria selling in the international market with which it is coming to the table for negotiation, or they're trying to achieve equilibrium based on these exchanges in the international market? So I would not know what informed that, other than trying to appease the whims and caprices of somebody in the IBRD or the IMF to gain recognition at the expense of the country. Otherwise, there is no reason, there is no pedigree, there is no foundation for devaluing the naira. All these talks about, IBRD, IMF tell you to devalue your naira, or your currency because your currency is overpriced. One thing every leader must know, and every economist must know, is that you are there to make life better for the common man. So if whatever policy you bring does not address that, there's no policy that's acceptable, to the people. So you devalue because the international market wants to pick your product at next to nothing, convert it into finished product and sell to you at supernormal, at the rates that will give them supernormal profit. So there is no reason for devaluation, for free floating the naira, in the first place. Because what are you negotiating with? You don't, you hear when boxers go, to the ring, they begin to mention their weights, a lightweight, featherweight, heavyweight. It is because weight, a particular category of weight you find by category weight. But you are now taking a featherweight to go and compete in the market where you have heavyweights. That's why Nigeria has been emasculated, and the actual outcome of that is what you see in the terrible, despicable exchange of the naira as to the dollar.
And can we be right or wrong to say that this is a case of imperialism on the part of the IMF?
Nobody will ride your back until you climb, until you bend it. Yeah, you see, I would want to have everything you have if you give to me. Everybody wants more.
If I give to you.
Yeah, if you give to me. So it's not a case of imperialism. It's a case of neo-colonialism, because there are willing actors within the Nigerian system. There are willing actors. Maybe neo-imperialism, imperialism, or neo-colonialism, because there are willing actors within the Nigerian system. As we speak, there is a 3% of Nigerians who benefit from all that is happening.
Yeah. So is there nothing the government can do about all of this?
The government, I stand corrected.
Because this has been running over the years.
The government...
Now we can see the effect on the prices of goods and services, especially for an ordinary Nigerian.
You know, the beneficiary of this actually is in government. And why do you upstage the system from which you benefit so much? Now, let me put this in perspective. Whilst we may want to be, to blame the current government, the dwindling started from way back. Do you recall that there was a time when, if you wanted to buy a shoe, you went to Bata or Leonard's? There was a time when we had car manufacturing, automobile plants in Kaduna, Peugeot, Volkswagen, Lagos.
Yes.
Steer in Bauchi, where they do agricultural, yes. Heavy duty machines.
I think Toyota in Kano also.
Well, I can't remember that in Kano. I can't remember that in Kano. Of course, we had Leyland in Ibadan, and Namco in Enugu.
Yes. And
even further down the value chain, you have Vono in Lagos, Dunlop, and in all other areas where they manufacture even the parts for these vehicles.
Yes.
And even the upholstery. Before now, excuse me,
sorry,
even the clothes you wear, UNTL in Kaduna Textile, all these things were companies that trapped foreign exchange. So as those things evaporated and went out, the foreign, this foreign exchange, positions went out with them. So we watched this in over 42 years.
Demand side.
Exactly. We watched this in over 42 years. These companies have evaporated. Recently, P&G has gone. Michelin left. Dunlop left. When Michelin was in Paracourt, the rubber with which they made those tires was from Ogunbendel and Old Rivers. So even the trickle-down effect that we expected then have all evaporated. So everything you do now is dollarized. How can you dollarize an economy that is naira-based?
That's the question that I will ask you just immediately. How can we dollarize the economy, a sovereign economy, knowing fully well that this is Nigeria? Nigeria uses naira. Do you believe that there are schools in Nigeria, across states of the Federation, whose school fees are paid in dollar?
Of course, I know a few, a few of them. But again, that is not even the area of huge use. Politics has been dollarized in Nigeria. The primary elections of the two major parties, what was shared there? Dollars. People now have banks in their houses. They keep dollar positions. People in offices no longer give you naira. They give you dollars. So these are non-economic actors stockpiling dollars and taking positions. Now, you see, last year, if I stand corrected, you have about $1.3 billion was used for sponsor, as payments for educational pursuits overseas. The same year, about $1.5 to $1.6 billion was used for medical tourism. Now, with these two subheads alone put together is about $3 billion. And to stabilize the naira, the Tinubu's government is looking for $3 billion. What could have been kept here if we have fixed our educational system and fixed our health institutions? You see, some of these things, we tend to think we can deal with the collapse of the naira using monetary policies. Most of the problems, some of the problems, large part of the problems are actually sociological and psychological. If you deal with them, there'll be a calming down effect on the exchange rate. Now you are seen as though you have achieved, considering the number of dollar words you carry around. People go to weddings, people go to engagements, and they spend dollars.
Yes.
The owners of the dollars don't even do that. So there's an abuse of the process. And the truth is, nobody is held to account. Like Oshiba just said some time ago, because corruption has no consequence, you know, it cannot be dealt with. So what is the consequence for abusing our monetary behaviors or fiscal behaviors? No consequence. So to a large part, the problem are psychological and sociological.
And so how do we solve this problem? Do we continue in this?
No, we cannot.
Is there nothing that the government can do, even though you have said that most of the actors are in government and some of them are wealthy people and politicians? Is there nothing that we can do to remedy the situation?
When you say we, you see, you have to categorize the we. Are you talking about we in government or we who are the led?
The government.
You see,
it's the government, because we the led. Is there anything the led can do?
Let me tell you, by the time you get to the point where you ask yourself what you can do, then you begin to remember how the Arab Spring started. You know?
How?
Ahmed Bouazizi was intimidated by a police officer. And because he knew that was nothing he could do, he just went to the front of the parliament and lit up himself. And that was how Arab Spring started. So there's a limit to which frustration can hold sway. You know? I hope we're able to resolve this without crisis. But I am telling you, people are hungry and they are angry.
That is where I'm going, because you need to go out there and see how people are suffering.
You are in here, I am out there. So it's me that will tell you what's happening out there.
All right. Like you rightly mentioned that prior to 1985, a dollar was exchanging for 80 naira to
80 kobo.
80 kobo to the dollar. What is it that we are doing then? And as of today, like you said, we can't even get an exact amount that is being exchanged for. Somebody may say this 1,500, another person may say 1,400, the other one can say 1,700, depending on where and what time that you are making the exchange.
I would expect a serious government to do a diagnostic of the situation. Where are the areas of huge use for the dollars? And once that is done, which of these areas are economic and which of them are non-economic? Because most of the dollars we spend are actually for non-economic engagements. So if you have, I heard recently there was this fake news, it was called, where they said the CBN was going to usurp, as it were, the 30 billion in the domiciliary account.
Yeah.
Why people are saying that? I said, oh,
they came out to deny it.
Yeah, I know. But you see, there's a side to it. That's all. Nigerians have $30 billion seated in various banks. Meanwhile, your foreign reserve is about $33 billion. Last year, diaspora remittance was $22 billion. So what the government needs to do is to enhance its capture net. Government should actually enhance its capture net and make sure they trap all these dollars as they come in. And number two, give people the benefit of the doubt. There's a huge distrust between the led and those out of in government.
Yes.
And whatever government does, they don't seem to agree. Now, last year, we spent about 1.3 trillion foreign education. Who are those going overseas to be educated? The children of which
children
people?
Of the politicians and those in government.
So what has happened to our schools?
I was coming to ask you that. What has happened to our school? Because there was a story my husband told me. He said, so many years ago, in University of Ibadan, Ahmadu Bello University, these renowned universities in Nigeria used to experience inflows of foreign students. What has happened now? Why are students traveling abroad? Especially when they are going for courses that can be better taken in our Nigerian institution, our Nigerian universities. Why is it so?
You see, there's this theory in economics. It's called the rational economic theory, which says that you take actions that will engender economic benefits to you. You know, in the same vein, you should take actions that can engender psychological, sociological, educational benefits to you. So, if like I said earlier, foreign consumption of goods has become a status thing, you know. So your son graduates from, let's say, a Leeds University, and my son graduates from, let's say, University of Lagos, and then, you know, your son is celebrated because he's, you know, These things are psychological. So I now go out of my to make sure my son too is celebrated by sending him to Leeds. Meanwhile, we don't know that, you see, for us to actually patronize our own foreign consumables, our own foreign products and services, is actually what keeps the country growing. Come to think of it, the same Britain they are running to, the US, was built by people. So why don't you stay back? Why don't you stay back here and build our own economies? So, like I was saying earlier, what are these areas of consumption? Let me tell you, for as long as insecurity in Nigeria is not addressed, the Naira will not actually go down to the level expected, because people are benefiting from the crisis. This equipment you buy, war and munitions and all that, do you buy them in Naira? No, you don't buy them in Naira. This logistics, that underpin these products you buy, you use Naira to pay? No. So long as people are benefiting from the insecurity in this country, they are not going to go into a huge area of consumption.
Okay. If we look at the huge area of consumption, as you mentioned, and particularly the non-economic, let's, with a reference to students traveling abroad for a course, you will realize that a lot of our students traveling abroad, reports had it that most of the universities they go to abroad are like glorified secondary schools in Nigeria. I don't know whether it is true or not, whether it is like that or not. What should we do to curtail these students? Can you imagine somebody traveling from here to, is it Canada or maybe the UK, to go and read media arts or music, English, economics, and courses, accountancy, courses that can be better taken in any of our universities in Nigeria?
Well, the truth is, I don't have literature to support your position of glorified secondary schools that people go to earn degrees there. Most recently, I think I heard of Benin, and I can know Benin Republic, and I can actually mention that because all over the papers where you can get a degree in 2.5 weeks. You know, and maybe
2.5 weeks,
yes,
a degree?
Yeah, that was an independent report that a young man, I think, is it Daily Independent? I don't know the journalist, where he actually did that investigation, and within 2.5 weeks, he got a degree from the university. I stand corrected. Is it Cotonou or Benin? I can't remember. You know, so that I know. But you see, glorified, these people have standards. You know, and you see, aside from the degree you are bringing, we are talking about you go into university for a 4-year course, and come out in 4 years. But I know someone who went to university for a 4-year course and came out 7 years after. Not because he was failing his courses, but just because, you know, there were strikes upon strikes, upon strikes. And then I know of institutions. When I say institutions, the employers of labor who will disparage, certificates from within the Nigerian setting in favor of those, from abroad. So it's, like I said, it's an entire systemic problem, which takes me back to, this book that we always quote virtually all the time, Wealth of Nation by Adam Smith. Now, when people quote Wealth of Nation by Adam Smith most of the time, they forget that he actually underpinned that book on the premise of another book he had written earlier, which he referred to, I think, is the law of moral sentiments, which says if you don't have your morality right, you don't have your ethics in place, you don't have your etiquette, then the stool on which you can build the superstructure of the economy is not available. So you cannot create wealth for nations when your morality, your foundation, is missing. So we need to do a whole lot of housekeeping and house clearing for us to be able to move on.
Apart from the house clearing, from your answers above, problem identified is problem half solved. I don't want to ask you, why is government not doing so much, or as it is expected, to these problems over the years? But again, is it a case of political will, lack of political will?
It's not
from one regime to the other.
It's not certain and very, very annoying that all you see people discuss now, especially in the political circles, is 2027. It's very annoying. You've been given a mandate for 4 years. We've not seen any direction in 4 years. And people are talking about what will happen in 2027. Some people will die before that time. Some will force it before that time. So we even change their mind before that time. Nobody's considering all this. We act as if God and happenstance don't exist. It's 2027. The focus for most people is, let me get into office and line my pockets the best I can, and I leave. The bad thing is that those who are waiting to steal achieve much more than those who are stealing. That is Nigeria's conundrum. So it's not about, you see, it's not lacking the political will. It's the willingness to do it, because they have the will. It's actually the willingness to do it. But who will bail the cat?
But again, can we also look at this problem from the part of the led? The entirety of Nigerians, especially the public. So I read an article some time ago where somebody was pointing an accusing finger on government workers, so to say, that the workers, the labor force too, are a problem to the society. Thereby, there's no reaction if there's anything going wrong. Maybe they are the one. From that article, the man stated that it is this labor force that are guiding the politicians or those that are in position of power. How will you react to this?
For me, I am old-fashioned. Everything begins, rises and falls on leadership. Because leadership is the cue that we take. Everything begins, rises and falls on leadership. Like recently, our president was in France for a private medical visit. Now, his handlers will be everywhere showing his pictures, watching the inauguration in Kogi State on TV and watching Nigerians playing on TV. But they forget one thing, that he is actually giving justification to foreign consumption. When Osinbajo took ill and I had to go through under the knife, he went to a hospital in Lagos. And you know what the perception that created? For God's sake, Nigeria is one country that prides itself with its despicable $33 billion foreign reserves. Countries who have good foreign reserves don't make noise. And one thing Nigeria doesn't know, the moment you say what your foreign reserve is, you are actually rated and they know how to deal with you. Sometimes actually not even good to mention. You are talking of a country that's just about $440 billion in terms of GDP. Apple is about 3 trillion. So 6 times bigger than Nigeria's economy. And then when we talk about this GDP, which to me is actually a waste of speech, why don't you talk about GDP per capita? Because when you talk about GDP per capita, then you have countries, so many countries in Africa that become bigger than Nigeria. Even Rwanda becomes bigger than Nigeria if you do GDP per capita. Yet, the entire Rwanda economy is just about the size of any bank in Nigeria.
But Nigeria has always been said to be the largest economy in Africa.
GDP, yes. GDP. But how much of GDP do you benefit from? And you know how that is computed? GDP is simply the total amount of economic activities within a particular space within a year.
No, I don't.
How many of those economic activities are actually Nigeria-based? Go and check your stock exchange. How many? Some of them are actually products of foreign petroleum investments, not direct investments.
And direct investments.
So you buy guns, it goes into the GDP. Are you aware? When you buy guns, it goes into the GDP. But how does gun contribute to production within the system?
All right. Okay. How many of our economic activities are contributing to our gross domestic product, GDP of Nigeria? We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
So glad to know you are still with us on this interesting edition of the program Business and Economy, and our focus has been on how to reverse the free fall of the Nigerian currency, the Naira. The guest, Dr. Victor Adoji, is still here. Doctor, before we went on the break, we were trying to look at how to solve this corrosive fall of the Naira. And you were giving us some points, but again, I want to take you to what some analysts have said over the period in recent time. Some of them have come up to say that the cost of governance in Nigeria is escalated. It's too high, and that is one of the major problems we are having these issues. How would you react to this?
You see, there are two concepts that sound similar but are actually opposite. One is that of cost management, and the next is that of waste management.
Cost management
and waste management. Yeah. Now, this government needs to do both: manage your cost and manage your waste. We don't need 46 ministers.
Okay.
We don't need 46 ministers. You see, even companies in the private world, when they discover that they carry out activities are similar to others are carrying out, which is where issues of absolute comparative advantage come in, they now try to merge them. Why don't you merge some of these ministries so they can save, now you can resolve the issue of fixed cost and resolve the issue of variable cost. You have ministers bearing sirens everywhere. Only God knows where they're going to. Now, take for a moment that, okay, we agree with the 46 ministers or whichever number we have now. What is their scorecard? Give them targets.
I was going to ask you.
Give them targets. Okay, you are in this ministry. This is actually what we expect for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I saw them rushing to the United Nations or to the UK, to the COP28, COP 1 million, and that they are looking for foreign investors. Let me shock you. Of the 70 trillion in asset management globally, less than 1.2 trillion find their ways into third world countries. And out of that 1.2 trillion, less than 30% finds its way into Africa. Most capital stays home. So if you are rushing that you are going to bring foreign investors, no. They are not stupid people. Money is a coward. Money is a very, very big coward. Money will not go where there are problems. Money will go where to find comfort and security. Fix your economy, fix your microeconomy, fix your microeconomy, fix your firms, and these monies will come. So they can cry all they cry, go all they go, but I'm telling you, these monies will not come because they know that, the money will have that effervescent ability. As it touches down, it goes away. Foreign portfolio investment will come. Yeah, I know they do that in capital market, but foreign direct investment, because they're junketing all around, that will not come. So there should be a measuring yardstick, a metric, a criterion for measuring the performance of these ministers. And when you fail, like it's there in school, either a repeat class, in which case you sack that person, or the person gets to do something else. But there is no measuring class. All they do is to attend meetings, either is every week, they call it
weekly fake meeting,
and that's all. Okay, I've spent this, I've spent that. We are talking about durable results, which is why I said there should be a migration from the GDP to the SPI, which makes more sense to me, because the SPI is called the Social Progress Index, in which you can actually measure exactly how your policies impact those who those places are meant for. But for now, everybody is just doing what they want, and that's where we are. Second, let me add before I forget. The policy Emefiele brought when he redesigned the Naira.
Yeah.
Someone told me that someone asked him that, please, so he has about, is it 12 billion to change? You
cash.
Can take cash. Well, you can take these two and let me just get 10 into the banking industry. And when the person told me, I was shocked. You see all these houses you have in Abuja, all these houses with these fences?
Especially those of empty houses.
They are empty, but they are not occupied by human beings, but occupied by money. These are actually
Sure.
bank votes everywhere. You know, for the same reason Emefiele said the amount of currency outside the banking industry
Vote.
is much more than those inside.
I
And
remember
let me give you
this
one other reason why the Naira keeps crashing. Because Tinubu can come tomorrow and say, you know what, let's go with the policy of redesign the Naira. They now know that if the money is not within the system, they will have lost it. So they are buying as much dollars to keep dollar position before that happens. And that is why the demand for the dollar is high. Once the demand is high, the price will actually shoot up. It's actually money, part of it is actually money outside the banking industry. Because they want to hold dollar positions. If you design your Naira, then they now sell the dollar to take Naira positions. That's actually what's happening. They know.
Some concerned Nigerians have argued that there are schools across the nation whose school fees are paid in dollars, like I said before. And there is this law that was established some time ago, which I don't think is functional, that in any country, you are not expected to spend other countries, currencies of other countries within your own country. What do you think this government now can do? Can we stop it? Is it possible that you can stop it, you can bring it to an end?
One thing I like with your profession is investigative journalism. I'm sure if you investigate the owners of these schools, some of them will be those in government. You can't appropriate and reprobate at the same time. So who is going to call them to order? And you see, I'm sure most of these schools actually have maybe foreigners as their teachers or lecturers there. And they actually pay them, maybe there's an agreement to pay them in the dollars. So if you begin to pay them, if you had agreed to pay them in Naira, you are paying them in dollars, you begin to pay in Naira, where are you going to source the Naira from? Are you surprised why most of these companies are leaving the country? I'll give you a simple example. You are not producing because dollar is not available for you to buy raw materials. And you have staff, within your payroll. Now, you are not producing to make money or to make profit and pay them. And then you have to impact your shareholders' funds to pay salary. No businessman does that. Now, because they begin to erode their shareholders' funds, the best thing is either to lay the workers off or move outside the Nigerian border and now import, as it were, the same products that they are producing here. But it comes at this time with wasted opportunities for job creation, wasted opportunities for technical skill acquisition, wasted opportunities for managerial experience, conceptual experience, and functional experience, and all that. That's actually what's happening. They are in business to be in business, not to die because they want to be patriotic.
So in your opinion, what can we do to shore up our balance of trade disequilibrium in order to revalue our local currency going forward?
You see, these things have the short-term, medium-term, and long-term component. By June or July.
This year.
July, any year, or even August. No, June, July. Go to all the international airports in Nigeria and sit and watch the amount of traffic. People going on holidays. They tell they are going for summer. Summer is sun. That is what it means. They don't know they see sun. So during summer they see sun there, they are celebrating. The sun in Abuja here can give a people summer for 10 years. So you are rushing from correct sun to go and see small sun. And look at the huge amount of resources they take out. How many of us have ever thought that if you now decide to go to, let's say, Akwa Ibom Resort with your family for a week, or to go to Zaranda and Bauchi with your family for a week, or to go to Tinapa with your family for a week, they are actually circulating resources. And by the time the resources circulate within the system, it engenders productivity. But we are more interested in taking all this money out. So first and foremost, we must cut our consumption of foreign goods and services. We must reel it in. Unless and until we do that, then we are not serious. And there are certain government policies that must make that happen. When Emefiele was CBN governor some time ago, I think he banned the importation of fish and some other items.
43 items on.
They've been lifted now. They've been lifted. No, you can bring all those items. How can you be importing fish with all the fish you have in Nigerian waters? So we must save our foreign exchange. We must save our foreign reserves. See, there's this, I don't know what it's called again, it's an Israeli concept, that for money to spin off the Israeli economy, it must go around the economy 15 times. Before
15 times?
Yeah, before spinning off. Our own It doesn't even touch down before. So some of them are actually taking away, they're taking away from them.
Oh, good. So, okay, what do you think we can do to change our behavior or our belief system? Because in all of this, there is a problem of belief system. Like you use an example of somebody buying fabrics. If I buy these fabrics, I bought it from in Lagos and it is made in Nigeria, and somebody wears something that is imported, the tendency to rate that person higher than myself is there. That is our belief system. Is there anything we can do to change our belief system? Again, our local consumption. Is it a case of low quality of our products and services, like you were making reference to some of our tourist centers in Nigeria? Is it a case of low quality? Maybe when we get there, we don't see what we are expected to see, or it all boils down to our belief system. Assuming you are the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what do you think you can do to remedy the situation?
First and foremost, how I became president matters. You know, the process that will enthrone me as president must be credible, must be respected, must be free, and must be fair. You see, we have built a country where might is right. We have built a country where illegality pays. We have built a country where criminals are celebrated with honorary doctoral degrees and chieftaincy titles. We have built a country where pews in churches and frontline democracies are reserved for thieves. Recently, somebody stole 100 billion, and while he was in trial, he was awarded, we'll give you a chieftaincy title somewhere. So you have seen you hear some of the young men now saying education is a scam. Do you know why they are saying that?
No.
Because having gone to school and suffered and read, they come out looking for jobs. But those who didn't go to school, you know, are celebrated either as political thugs or given an appointment because they have the capacity to kill somebody for somebody. See, the premise on which our leaders evolve, our leadership succession process must be retooled. We need a renaissance, you know, on the premise of our leadership succession process or evolution process. We must learn to do things that are ethically accepted and ethically viable. We must. Like I said, most of the problems, economic problems we're trying to deal with today have their foundation in our sociological and psychological impairments. People get married, and then before you do the I do and sign the dotted lines, there are some things you expect. But when you come to the marriage, you don't find those things. Do you run out of the marriage?
No.
Or try to make it work?
Make it work.
So let's make Nigeria work and not treat Nigeria as a gas station.
Let's make Nigeria work
and not treat Nigeria as a gas station. Okay. Just like a gas station, you are buying fuel. If I ask you, the last 3 weeks you bought fuel, yes, but tell me the names of the filling stations. Can you tell me?
I may struggle. I have to
struggle. You may struggle,
yes,
because you don't care. All you care is the service you are offered.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't treat Nigeria like a gas station.
All right. In rounding, what should be, or what do you think is the future of Nigeria in all of this?
When China in 2005 discovered their youth bulge, they discovered that they have a huge population of youths who actually are going to take over the reins, you know, of economic power in their country. They brought out policies, you know, to help with the youth. And in less than 1 year, over 240 million of them were taken out of poverty through the SMEs.
What is it they did?
Policies for mainstreaming them. That's why when I hear our politicians talk about empowerment, I say, are these guys in the 21st century? You don't empower anybody, you mainstream. Mainstream you. Okay. They mainstream by creating a platform for your enterprise to bubble to the surface. That's all you need. That's all you need. You know, now what do you even call empowerment? Let me put on record here that money has never solved the problem of poverty. There is no statistical basis to show that money has ever solved the problem of poverty.
So what is the solution to poverty?
Identify your non-consumption areas and empower people to be net producers of a particular product or service.
We should identify
non-consumption areas.
Okay.
And empower and encourage people to bubble their enterprise to the surface. Entrepreneurship will take you to the next bend, not money.
Entrepreneurship will take us to the next
bend, not money. That's why the governor of Akwa, former governor of Akwa will always tell you, Nigerians should learn to use money and not cash. Cash will never solve our problems, but money will.
So somebody may ask, what's the problem between cash and money?
That money in your pocket is cash. You know, other people's money in the bank that you can access is actually money.
Okay. Oh, wow, what an interesting time on the program. Our leadership succession process must be ethically accepted and viable. And then we should learn not to treat Nigeria as a gas station. Let's identify our weak points. Let's identify our consumption area and work on them. And with those measures, we have come to the end of today's program. The guest we have been speaking with is an economist, a banker, and a politician.
A professional in politics.
A professional in politics.
Yes.
Okay, professional in politics, Mr. Dr. Victor Adoji. Dr. Adoji, I want to thank you so much for honoring our invitation. I believe if we call you again, you honor our invitation.
If I can pay the etiquette, yes.
I know you can. And to you out there, our esteemed audience, we sincerely appreciate you for branching off. Stay with us for more on our programming. I am Ile Emejesin. Good day to you.